también estamos, hoy también estamos con Mac, ella es una estudiante de Duke, tiene su propia organización, se llama Mac School Prep.
And since we started recording after the fact, I'll repeat that we're just excited to have you all here to talk about how to transition to high school. So thank you all for joining us today. To get started, I'll present, or I'll show you about, or tell you a little bit about the Emily K Center, which you are all familiar with. As you know, it supports 4 different programs, Pioneer Scholars through Scholars on Campus, supporting K through 16 education. But I'm going to tell you also more about Gameplan College. Gameplan College is a free open access program that does not require an application. So you come as you are, and we focus on the student. And we understand that there's various pathways to success beyond just a 4-year college or university. So that may be like community college or a certificate or technical program. And so we meet students where they are by doing individual advising, one-on-one advising sessions that we can drop the link at the end for you to book. And we also do workshops both virtually and in schools similar to this one.
Un poquito sobre el programa de Gameplan College. Nosotros somos uno de los 4 programas que están en el centro, que apoyamos de diferentes trayectorias para que ustedes vayan y tengan sus planes después de la universidad. Este programa es completamente gratis y de acceso abierto. No hay ningún requerimiento, no hay ningún mínimo de citas o de calificaciones, no hay ningún requisito sobre ustedes, solamente nos pueden utilizar nuestros recursos cuando sea necesario. Entendemos que los estudiantes tienen diferentes caminos para que vayan al éxito o tienen diferentes metas, así que así sea la universidad o cualquier otra cosa que quieran hacer después de la escuela preparatoria, estamos aquí para ayudarles a través de asesoramientos individuales y vamos a compartir más información y el enlace para que ustedes hagan esas citas y también por talleres como estos.
We offer a variety of services, and those that may be more helpful for 9th grade students are creating your 4-year high school plan and helping you choose your academics and courses. If you want to do a little bit more of major and career exploration, start thinking of that early. We can help with that. And other things that may be useful after 9th grade year is choosing summer programs and finding those, and resume writing. There are some scholarships that are available to 9th grade students and 10th graders. So if you start your search early enough, we can help you with that as well. And then once you are a 12th grader, we really help with every step of the college application process, and we'll be here at the center. So once you become a 12th grader or 11th grader and are starting that college application process, you can always come back to us to get that assistance, and that would be those steps through here.
Aquí en esta pantalla pueden ver las cosas y los servicios con los que nosotros ayudamos. Nosotros ofrecemos apoyo a estudiantes desde del 9 hasta ya que se vayan a graduar en el 12. Podemos ayudarles a planear sus 4 años, como qué clases seleccionar. Si todavía no están seguros que quieren estudiar, podemos ayudarles a averiguar qué oportunidades tienen ustedes, y también específicamente mucho del trabajo que nosotros hacemos viene en el último año de la escuela preparatoria, que es cuando ya ustedes van a estar aplicando a las universidades. Entonces pueden ver ahí de la mitad de la lista al final casi todos esos son pasos que se tienen que hacer para ya que están listos para llenar esas solicitudes para la universidad. Entonces nosotros vamos a estar aquí para cuando ustedes lleguen a ese momento en la escuela preparatoria.
And today we will cover the differences between middle school and high school. We will also talk about how grades matter a lot once you go to high school, how to get those good grades and build self-advocacy skills for yourself. With that comes writing a professional email, and then just general tips with how to survive high school at the end.
Entonces, hoy lo que vamos a platicar sobre las diferencias que hay entre la secundaria y la escuela preparatoria. También vamos a hablar de que las calificaciones importan mucho y cómo es que ustedes pueden asegurarse de sacar buenas calificaciones. Vamos a hablar de cómo abogar por sí mismo, porque esto va a ser muy importante ya que estén ahí en la escuela preparatoria. Cómo escribir correos electrónicos para comunicarse con sus profesores o cualquier adulto que necesiten ayuda, y unos tips de cómo sobrevivir la escuela, la prepa.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive in with the first topic that was on the previous slide. As it pertains to the differences, the major differences between middle school and high school. So first thing to just prepare yourselves for is that high schools typically have a lot more students. My graduating class when I was in high school only had, 157 kids, but there are high schools that have up to thousands of kids walking around the campus. And so just being prepared for there to be more hustle, more bustle, more people in the hallways. And that obviously is going to also translate to larger class sizes. Being in a room with more peers could be a little bit more rambunctious, harder to pay attention. And so just being prepared for that, as well as, we're going to talk about this later, with larger class sizes comes the importance of having self-advocacy and building that so that you don't get lost in the shuffle, and that you're able to still build rapport with your teachers and with your peers and get the help that you need, despite having so many other students that your teacher might be dealing with. A big one, and this is going to correlate with grades, etc., is larger workload. So not only are you going to have more classes that you are juggling once you get to high school, up to 7 or 8 or even 9, more work, but the work is going to be more rigorous because once you get to high school, depending on where you go, there are possibilities of doing advanced placement classes or honors classes to prepare for college and that next level. So in addition to having more work, also having more challenging work, which is why it's more important than ever that we really buckle down and retain some of the study skills that we're going to be talking about later in the presentation as well. Now with class choices, this is something that should be exciting to hear, because maybe right now you're like, oh, this sounds kind of like, I don't really want to go to high school. Well, with class choices, typically high schools have a more diverse array of choices that you can choose from. The class selection that maybe you didn't even have an opportunity to pursue when you were in middle school. Things like very niche topics such as psychology or, European history, stuff that's just more unique, that you can figure out, hey, this is an interest that I really have. I want to pursue this academic passion. And also this offers opportunities for you to discover new academic passions. So I think it's really cool that you'll also just have more opportunities to take just a wide range of classes. Also, now, as it pertains to high school as well, grades are going to matter even more than ever. And then they're going to matter the second you start your first day of 9th grade year, because that next step, that goal that you are aspiring towards is going to college. And when you submit an application your senior year, so 4 years into your high school career, those admissions committees, that you end up applying to that college are going to look back at your grades from all 4 years. And so that's the thing that's more at stake than ever once you step foot onto a high school campus, that your grades are just ever more important. Extracurricular opportunities. This is a really fun one as well. You're just going to have a breadth of club choices that you can choose from and engage in, from athletic to music to theater. So really a lot of opportunities to just immerse yourself into things that you like, discover new things that maybe you never knew that you were good at before, and just opportunities to get plugged in around your campus. And then the last thing here is with peer pressure. So entering into an environment where not only are you older, but you're exposed to, you're coming in probably 14 years old. Kids are going to be on campus as old as 18, 17, 16. And so being in an environment with students that are older is going to come with potentially negative peer pressure to engage in maybe drugs, alcohol, sex, things that you just need to be aware of, be wary of, obviously, and just keep your guard up and make smart choices and not allow older kids to pressure you into doing things that you know are not good for you and you know you shouldn't be doing.
Vamos a hablar sobre las diferencias de la secundaria y la preparatoria. Una de las grandes diferencias que vas a notar al principio es que hay muchos más estudiantes. Mackenzie mencionó que ella estuvo en su grado, había 157 estudiantes, pero hay escuelas que tienen hasta miles de estudiantes y con más estudiantes, eso causa que sean las clases más grandes también. Y igualmente vas a tener más trabajos y tareas, y esa tarea puede ser un poco más difícil, pero también tienes opciones de clase y eso puede ser emocionante. Puedes seleccionar clases que son más específicas o más únicas, como psicología o historia europea. También vas a tener oportunidades de tomar clases avanzadas que te pueden ayudar para ser competitivo en el colegio.
También la otra cosa que me estaba mencionando Mackenzie son que las calificaciones van a importar mucho más en este momento, porque si vas a querer ir a la universidad, los representantes de admisiones van a estar viendo a estas calificaciones. Entonces es importante que saques buenas calificaciones, porque alguien más va a estar mirando tus calificaciones. En términos de las oportunidades extracurriculares, van a haber muchísimas más que tú puedes tomar ventaja. Por ejemplo, va a haber cosas atléticos, cosas de música, de teatro. Entonces vas a poder descubrir nuevas cosas y oportunidades para que te involucres. Y sobre la presión de otros estudiantes, ya vas a estar más grande cuando entres a la preparatoria, y también por eso vas a estar expuesto a estudiantes más adultos, más grandes, ya van a estar 17, 18 años, y puede que esto venga con presión negativa de otros compañeros. Puede que estés expuesto a drogas, alcohol, a cosas sexuales. Entonces necesitas estar atento de esto y hacer buenas decisiones sobre estas cosas que puedes encontrar en la escuela preparatoria.
Now we are going to talk about the first topic, or a big topic, which is that grades matter in high school. Like Mackenzie mentioned, right from your first day of class, when you step foot. Ahora hablaremos sobre las calificaciones que importan mucho mientras estás en la preparatoria. Como mencionó Mackenzie, desde el primer día de tu 9º grado empiezan a importar. So to begin with, in order to graduate high school, you must meet certain requirements. So that means you need to take, throughout 9th through 12th grade year, you need to take 4 credits of English. Usually that's English once a year. 4 credits of math, 3 of science, 4 of social studies, 1 credit of health or physical education. And you have to take about 10 elective credits. So those can be other classes, either in English, science, math, social studies, or more PE if you like that, or those more unique courses like psychology, additional histories, etc. Additionally, if you're interested in going to a 4-year college that is public in North Carolina, and a lot of private ones require this too, you need 2 credits of world languages. So that would either be 2 credits of Spanish or 2 of French. They must be in the same language.
Vamos a hablar un poquito de los requisitos de graduación. Esto es en general para las escuelas tradicionales. Puede que depende de si estás en una preparatoria especializada, pero típicamente van a necesitar 4 créditos de inglés, 4 de matemáticas, 3 de ciencia, 4 de estudios sociales o como historia, un crédito de esa educación física y salud. Y también vas a tener oportunidad de tomar otras clases diferentes y para que llenes 10 créditos de diferentes clases para que saquen un total de 26 créditos. También si están interesados en ir a una escuela pública de Carolina del Norte, es requerido que los estudiantes tomen 2 créditos de idiomas del mundo, por ejemplo, dos clases de español, 2 clases de francés, italiano o cual sea que ofrezcan en su escuela, pero tiene que asegurarse de que sea del mismo lenguaje. Si toman español 1, tienen que seguir con español 2.
Grades also matter in order to get promoted from one grade to the next. So from before you can become a sophomore or go on to 10th grade, for traditional high schools, you need 6 credits or 6 classes that you must have passed. If you are attending DSA or School for Creative Studies, you can see the differences in credits. So same to go from 10th to 11th grade, you need 12 credits total or 12 classes that you have passed and so on. And to graduate, you need 26. But if you are in DSA or School for Creative Studies, that would be 24.
También hay específicos requisitos para ser promocionado al siguiente grado, como pueden ver en en la pantalla, para que pasen del año 9º al 10º se necesitan 6 créditos. Entonces, si van a la escuela como de Creative Studies o a la de Artes, el requisito cambia un poquito porque son escuelas especializadas. Entonces, no son 6, sino son 5 los créditos que necesitan. Y así pueden ver lo demás del 10 para pasar al 11, se necesitan 12 créditos, 11 al 12 son 18 y ya para graduarse son el total de 26 que habíamos hablado antes.
A big difference of how grades get tracked is through something called GPA. Does anyone know, any students or families here know what GPA stands for? ¿Qué significa el GPA? Esa es la forma en que los grados son como se acumulan. ¿Qué significa GPA? Thank you, Kim. That is correct. It stands for grade point average, or in Spanish, significa un promedio, el promedio de tus grados. So we're going to talk about there are different types of GPA. So here is just the scoring that you could get on like a paper or an assignment. And here's the grade that corresponds with that. So 90 to 100 A, 80 to 89 B, so on and so forth. For unweighted GPA or unweighted quality points, a grade A would equal to 4 points, a B equal to 3 points, C 2 points, D 1 point, and then if you get an F, you do not get 0, you get 0 points or 0 credits for that class. So this is the amount of quality points for regular classes. If you take honors or AP classes, you can see that there is a difference. So what is the difference that you notice with honors and AP classes? Thank you. Yes, the points are higher. So with an honors class, it is point or half a quality point higher, so 0.5 points higher. So if you get an A, instead of getting a 4.0, we'll get an unweighted 4.0, but your weighted GPA would be 4.5 for that class. For B, it's 3.5, so on and so forth. And for AP, IB, or dual enrollment classes, which dual enrollment are college level classes, it is a whole point higher. So you would get 5 quality points for an A, 4 quality points for a B, and so on. Even if you got a D in the class, that would still give you 2 quality points. But if you fail, that is 0 quality points across the board. So This is how students get above a 4.0 GPA. They might have a 4.3, 4.5 GPA because of these honors and AP classes that are pulling that higher than a 4.0. Now, question for you all, which GPA do you think colleges look at and why? Okay, so I'm getting, people are agreeing that they look at the weighted quality points. And that is correct. With the weighted GPA, they get to see if you challenge yourself in those higher level courses. But they will also look at your unweighted GPA as well, because that weighs them all equally, all classes equally. They'll get to see whether you got A's, B's, or C's. But with a weighted GPA, they'll get to see if you got A's, B's, or C's in like higher level courses. So they will actually look at both, kind of a trick question, but you are right. They will look at weighted and they will also look at unweighted GPA.
Aquí es como agarran el puntaje los estudiantes para su promedio. Como pueden ver, hay dos tipos de promedios. Hay uno que es regular y luego el que te da los puntos extras o que toma en cuenta que tomaste clases con honores o clases avanzadas. Depende del puntaje de su calificación, es una letra que se le da y también los puntos que reciben por esa clase. Como pueden ver, si un estudiante agarra una A, un punto regular que se le da a ese estudiante es son 4 puntos. Si su calificación baja a una B, C, D, el número va disminuyendo por un punto, dependiendo el puntaje. También si sacan una F, entonces ahí se les da 0 puntos, no importa la clase que estén tomando, regular, honor o avanzada. Pueden ver que solamente son 0. Y queremos que noten que cuando los estudiantes tomen clases con honor, se les otorga un punto 5 adicional a su puntaje. Entonces, si agarraron una C y agarraron clases con honor, entonces el puntaje es un 2.5 en vez de un 2, que fuera si no me hubieran tomado una clase regular. Y este puntaje es más avanzado, es más alto cuando los estudiantes toman esas clases todavía un poquito más difíciles, que son clases avanzadas, clases internacionales y también clases que toman con el colegio comunitario. Entonces ahí la escuela les otorga un punto extra en total. Entonces, si agarran una A, no les van a dar 4 puntos, sino que les van a dar 5 puntos a los estudiantes. Entonces, eso es la diferencia entre que los estudiantes tomen clases con honor o más avanzadas a que solamente tomen las clases regulares. El puntaje, punto 5 o un punto en total. Y las escuelas, los colegios, las universidades van a tomar atención a ese puntaje que tenga los puntos extras, porque es como ahí se van a dar cuenta que los estudiantes se desafiaron y quisieran tomar clases más difíciles. También van a ver el otro puntaje regular, pero es lo que les acabamos de preguntar a los estudiantes, que cuál creían que iban a ver los representantes, y ese es ese puntaje que demuestra que ellos se desafiaron y tomaron clases más difíciles.
Now, these grades get tracked in an official document called a transcript. So that transcript gets started when you enter or start 9th grade. At the beginning of a transcript, you will have basic demographic information, and this is an official document that gets sent to colleges once you apply. We have an example here of a student. As you can see, every course that they took and their mark gets recorded, their final grade, as well as how many quality points, weighted and unweighted, and credits they earn for each one of those classes. So you get 1 credit per class because they passed them. And then as we can see, this is a B, but this was honor, so they got 3.5 quality points. So that's how you can see what we just explained in the previous slide about GPA. That's how it gets recorded in this official document.
Aquí pueden ver cómo lo que acabamos de hablar es que se anota en los récords oficiales de los estudiantes. Esto es una boleta de calificaciones y en esta boleta es la que se les manda a las universidades cuando es tiempo de aplicar y mandar su solicitud. Como pueden ver al principio, lo que tiene es la información básica del estudiante, dirección, nombre, padres y la escuela en la que están anotados. También pueden ver ya las clases que tomó el estudiante, específicamente el nombre, cuántas clases tomaron en ese primer año. Pueden ver cuál fue la calificación que agarraron por cada curso y los puntos que acabamos de explicar hace rato. O sea, ahí puedes notar el puntaje regular y el puntaje que tiene los puntos extras.
This is just the second page of the same transcript example. And you will see it records every single class through 11th grade, even in 12th grade. This transcript is from the beginning of fall semester of 12th grade year. So all 12th grade courses are listed here, but they don't have any grades for them yet. And I wanted to bring special attention to this area at the bottom. Esta es solo la segunda página, la continuación del boleta de calificaciones, página 2. Puedes ver que incluye los grados o todos los cursos hasta grado 11. Este ejemplo es del principio del otoño del grado 12. Entonces puedes ver que están incluidos todos los cursos que va a tomar este estudiante para el grado 12, pero no tiene calificaciones porque están al principio de ese año. Y quiero llamar atención a una sección que está aquí abajo. Esa sección más grande para que lo puedan ver es que aquí también dice los cursos que les faltan. Sorry, let me go back in English here. Let me bring to attention the bottom of this transcript. You can see courses that are still required in order to meet the requirements to get into a four-year public university. So this student is still missing these courses that they must take 12th grade year. And here you can see this very important piece. You can see weighted GPA, unweighted GPA, and class rank. So there are 320 total seniors in this class at Northern High School for this past year. That's accurate. And this student was ranked 97 out of 320. So pretty solid GPA, pretty solid class ranking. This is information that gets looked at by colleges for admissions. Como lo estaba explicando, tienen los cursos de grado 12 y también aquí pueden ver que tiene los cursos que le faltan a este estudiante para tener los requisitos para entrar a una universidad de 4 años pública en Carolina del Norte. Y aquí abajo tiene información muy importante. Tiene el promedio del estudiante que tiene esos puntos extras y también el promedio del estudiante sin los puntos extras de sus grados. Y puede ver también que el rango, o como, no sé si hay una mejor palabra, aquí, pero de 320 totales que se van a graduar de esta escuela, este estudiante califica como en el 97, si estuvieran todos en orden, con el número 1 siendo el estudiante con el mejor puntuaje. Esto es información que usan las universidades y los colegios para consideración de admisiones.
All right. So like I mentioned way back when, grades are, important. Grades are, your GPA is vital. And making sure that you have a high GPA is important because it's going to play a central component when you start applying to college your senior year of high school. And really the direct correlation here, and you can see in this table, is that your grades, the higher your GPA, the better chances that you have of getting into a more prestigious school. And so by prestigious, I'm sure many of you have heard of like Ivy Leagues or Stanford or, Duke, UNC Chapel Hill, schools that have a low acceptance rate because, so many students are applying, and then the admissions committee only takes a small number of applicants that they deem, fit for thriving in the academic environment at that school. So if you are aspiring to go to a more selective college, your grades are going to be even more important in maintaining a high GPA, A's, B's, majoritively A's.
Como mencionó Mackenzie hace rato, las calificaciones son muy importantes. Tener un promedio alto es muy importante porque eso va a importar cuando apliquen y llenen sus solicitudes para la universidad. Entonces, así nos imaginamos que ustedes han escuchado de hablar de escuelas prestigiosas, y para ir a esas escuelas prestigiosas, entonces se necesita un promedio muy alto. Y que no solamente para ir a estas escuelas prestigiosas, pero entre más alto su promedio, van a tener muchas más opciones para cuando estén aplicando a la universidad. Y pueden ver aquí en su pantalla ahorita que son los requisitos dependiendo la escuela y lo que van a buscar en términos de su promedio y en términos de los exámenes estandarizados.
All right, so we've done a lot of establishing that getting grades is important, but how? Let's get to the strategy now, because if I were you, I'd want to know, how am I supposed to maintain a high GPA? Miss Mackenzie, Miss Christina, Miss Jackie, we're going to answer that right now.
Y sabemos que estamos hablando de agarrar buenas calificaciones, pero no les hemos dicho cómo, entonces ahorita vamos a enfocarnos en cómo es que van a agarrar esas buenas notas.
Okay, so first things first, we gotta get organized. And so making sure that you're keeping a running to-do list, a planner, a calendar, something where you can record all of the assignments and the things that you have to do for when you go home. So I mentioned this before, you're going to be taking 7, 8, potentially 9 classes. You're going to have a large workload. You're probably going to be getting homework from all of those courses. Some you're going to have to turn in assignments the next day. Some you're going to have to do studying. Some it might be reading, etc. And so making sure that you don't just stuff all of that information into your head and trust your brain to retain it all, but actually writing it down in some sort of agenda, some sort of planner, notebook, whatever system of organization works for you, just keep track of it, right? And not only are you keeping track of what your actual assignments are, you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping track of due dates. Is it due tomorrow? Is it due next week? Is it due, potentially next month? Reason for tracking the due dates is so that you can actually do what's called prioritization, right? And if you have a test that's coming up tomorrow, obviously you are going to want to study and put more time, effort, and energy in the short term to study for that test versus working on a project that might be due next week. So looking at the due dates is going to help you get organized and determine when are you going to work on XYZ assignment. And also just so that you don't lose track of what assignments you've been given. You also want to make sure that your to-do list is specific. Not only are you just writing down, hey, I have reading for XYZ class, reading for English, read book. You want to make sure, okay, let me get specific. Let me make sure I don't forget that actually for tomorrow, pages 1 through 10 of XYZ book are due. And so this is going to help you out for when you go home hours after school has ended. Just want to make it easy on yourself. You don't want to waste time later on trying to figure out what was it that my teacher told me to do. Write it down in the moment so that later on you can just jump right into the work. Now, what we mean when we say making your to-do list manageable, obviously this is inevitably you're going to have a lot of things, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of obligations, a lot of assignments that you are tending to in high school. And so making sure that each day when you go home, you write down, all right, this is what I'm working on tonight. This is what I'm accomplishing, and making sure that that's actually, those goals are attainable, right? If you know that you only have a few hours, hold on. Sorry, it's tough doing presentations at home. Anyways, so making sure that your to-do list it coincides with how much time that you actually have. You don't want to have something that's too long, have too many things going on, and you're like, well, I actually can't get to all of this. So that's when your due dates and that prioritization comes into play. And lastly, moving any incomplete items to the following day's list. Sometimes we're just not going to get to everything. We're busy. Not only do we have academic obligations, but we also have maybe sports teams that we're a part of or other extracurricular teams that we're part of. And we also, a lot of us have family responsibilities, jobs, chores that we're doing at home. And sometimes just school stuff, not all of it is going to get done. And making sure that you don't just finish the day and you're like, well, it didn't get done. Oh, well, right? Making sure that you work it into the next day, hoping that, the next day is not the deadline. We're assuming here that you actually have time, making sure that you have that rollover to the next day and not forget about it. So this is just first things first is establishing a system of organization and following through with it.
La primera cosa que se tiene que hacer es organizarte. Y esto te puedes organizar haciendo una lista de tareas. A lo mejor puedes tener un cuaderno, un calendario, cualquier cosa que te ayude a mantenerte organizado. Encuentra cuál es tu sistema y hazlo. Apunta estas cosas en este cuaderno, calendario, lo que sea. Asegúrate de que también tomes nota de todas las tareas que te dejen los maestros para que después no te estés preguntando qué es lo que me dijo el maestro. Entonces hazlo cuando el maestro lo diga, apúntalo en tu cuaderno, apúntalo en tu agenda, en lo que tu sistema que vayas a ocupar y ocupa esto para mantenerte organizado. También cuando estés haciendo tus listas, asegúrate de que sea una lista específica. Que no digas, que tengo que leer un libro, pero que digas qué páginas del libro tienes que leer, porque así te vas a mantener más organizado y vas a ver qué cosas tienes que hacer y tus metas te van a ser más específicas. Asegúrate de que te mantengas al tanto de las fechas, límites que tienes para los exámenes, para las tareas y aprende a priorizar las cosas. Así, por ejemplo, si tienes un examen mañana y tienes un proyecto la semana que viene, te vas a enfocar en estudiar en tu examen de mañana y no en el proyecto que tienes todavía una semana. También hazte que tus tareas o esta lista sea manejable. Sabemos que tienes muchas cosas que manejar en la escuela, en la casa. Entonces, haz que tu lista de tus tareas sea realística, basada en el tiempo que vas a tener cuando llegues a tu casa. Porque sabemos que hay otras actividades en la casa o a lo mejor tengas que limpiar, a lo mejor estás involucrado en deportes. Estas son cosas que te toman tiempo, entonces sé realista con ti mismo de cuánto tiempo vas a tener cuando llegas a casa, haz esa lista de cosas que vas a hacer y si algo pasa, si no pudiste terminar todas las cosas en tu lista, solamente asegúrate que los muevas para el siguiente día y para que sigas organizado con todas estas cosas que tienes que hacer.
All right, so now we're going to move into the self-advocacy component of the presentation, which we kind of alluded to at the beginning. But just to preface, as you enter high school, this is really, you're at the precipice of blossoming into becoming an adult, right? When you leave high school at 18 years old, you are a legal adult. You are, high school should be all about building independence, right? And so that is where the self-advocacy component comes in of you really being familiar with what makes you you. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are, the things that you're good at? What are your areas of improvement? And then knowing exactly the resources, the tools, the support systems you need at your school, potentially outside of your school, so that you can thrive holistically. And then the third component of self-advocacy is being able to communicate to other people, being able to ask and receive the help that you need, because at the end of the day, you just want to put yourself in the best position to thrive. And so familiarizing yourself with who you are, and also seeking out and knowing how to actually communicate what exactly it is that you need from other people. And so I think we just touched on it. One key word is self-awareness. And that's kind of goes into that, actually familiarizing yourself with strengths, weaknesses, and potentially based on a subject that you might be struggling with. Maybe it's a tutor that you need to get plugged in with. Maybe it's going and seeing a teacher and going and doing what's called maybe office hours, or staying after class and saying, hey, this homework assignment I wasn't really understanding, but figuring out, hey, this is the area that I'm really struggling with, and seeking out and being able to identify and locate the resources that are gonna address those needs for you. And then we've already touched on, communication.
Abogar por sí mismo es algo de lo que habíamos hablado hace rato en la presentación, pero ¿qué es lo que significa que abogar por sí mismo? Es que ustedes entiendan cuáles son sus fortalezas y cuáles son sus áreas en que necesitan trabajar un poco más, saber qué es lo que necesitas para que tengas éxito y cómo poder comunicarlo con otras personas. Cuando entren a la escuela preparatoria van a ser adultos, van a tener mucha independencia, entonces tienen que ser familiares con lo que los hace ustedes, lo que los hace únicos, en lo que son buenos, en las áreas que necesitan mejorar. Entonces, cuando ustedes sepan eso de ustedes mismos, van a poder crear sistemas que los van a ayudar a mejorar, y a través de esto van a poder comunicarse, van a poder comunicar lo que necesitan. Por ejemplo, la autoconciencia, que es el término de lo que estamos hablando cuando estamos diciendo que aboguen por sí mismo, es saber que a lo mejor te está fallando en una materia y la materia es matemáticas, entonces, ¿qué es lo que necesitas para mejorar? A lo mejor necesitas un tutor, a lo mejor necesitas pasar más tiempo con tu maestro, ir después de clases o a lo mejor antes de clases para que te dan apoyo en esta clase. Entonces, esto es lo que significa y esto es lo que nosotros decimos cuando decimos que tienen que abogar por sí mismo.
Okay, so maybe right now you're thinking, all right, I got it. I'm supposed to have this self-advocacy thing, but how am I supposed to get there? All right, so let's talk about the skills. Let's talk about what goes into it. Let's talk about how we can actually get to this point where we are advocating on our own behalves. So the first thing that kind of goes into the self-awareness piece that we covered on the last slide is discovering what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And I think something that I have figured out that really works for me and how to cultivate my own self-awareness is, how do you get to know other people? You know your friends because you spend time with them. So how do you get to know yourself? You spend time with yourself in what is called introspective reflection. And perhaps that's at the end of the day after you've done all of your homework and you're like, what is it that really came easy to me today? Was it reading my book and really being able to extrapolate what was the main idea? Okay, yeah, easy money. But what is it that perhaps I struggled with? The math problems that I was going through, that seemed a little bit difficult. I think I need to go and, get some sort of reinforcement from my teacher about XYZ topic. So asking yourself those things at the end of the day, and maybe it's not even pertaining to school, because self-advocacy is something that, can happen in just the real world once you're, working, etc. So figuring out strengths and weaknesses on just an overall playing field, but really just reflecting at the end of the day, what worked for me today and what didn't, and being honest with yourself and not being in denial about, yeah, that math homework was easy breezy when really it wasn't. Because at the end of the day, you want to, again, set yourself up to thrive, and asking for help is never a bad thing, which I jumped ahead a little bit there, but I guess I was just eager to say it. Another thing is just Again, self-advocacy is going to build that independence that is vital for high school, and also going into, whatever your plans are after high school. Maybe that's the workforce, maybe that's the military, maybe that's college. Independence is a really big thing. You're going to eventually move out of your house and not have your parents right there telling you, hey, these are the appointments that you have to do. These are your obligations. And so you want to make sure that you first and foremost are trying to do problem solving on your own, without involving another adult, without involving maybe it's your teacher or your friend or whoever it is that you typically go to, kind of trying to think through it on your own first, and then maybe running those ideas by somebody else and saying, hey, do you have any advice, mom and dad, or do you have any advice, teacher, etc. But trying to, again, first trust yourself. And then the other thing that's a really important takeaway is that in high school and in the real world, all of us are going to have the tendency to compare ourselves and to say, hey, so-and-so is doing this. Am I enough? Right. And especially in school, and, when we're young and we're 14, 15, we're in this kind of teenager phase. School can be really tough because all of us are learning in different ways. And just because maybe you're a visual learner while so-and-so is an auditory learner, or maybe you think through things a little more analytically while somebody maybe thinks through things a little bit more creatively, none of those things, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter that you might think more with your left brain or so-and-so learns more with the right brain. All of us are unique, and those are all gifts that we bring to the table. And so that's why it's important to realize how you learn best, how you think best, right? And not think of those things as a weakness because they might be different from a peer or a friend that you have in the class. But also it's important to know those things, how you learn and how you think, your learning and thinking style, so that you're able to seek out the resources that best align with the way that your brain works. So if you are somebody who is let's say a visual learner, for example, maybe going to your teacher and saying, hey, can I have printouts of, the PowerPoint slide, because that's going to help me really be able to understand this concept better. Or if you're an auditory learner, perhaps asking, hey, teacher, is it okay if I record your voice during this presentation so that I can go back and listen to it later when I'm studying? Because again, that's how you best absorb information. So yeah, all these things go into self-advocacy, and this is a long-term process that you want to be building throughout high school.
Ahora vamos a hablar de cómo ustedes desarrollan habilidades para que ustedes puedan abogar por sí mismos y cómo es que pueden llegar a este punto. Hay que descubrir como ya me has dicho antes, hay que descubrir y entender cuáles son las cosas en las que ustedes son fuertes y en cuáles es las que necesitan trabajar un poquito. Y así como piensen en esto, en como cuando conocen a alguien nuevo, ¿cómo es que lo conocen? Les preguntan preguntas, pasan tiempo con ellos. Entonces, es lo mismo que tienes que hacer con ustedes. Tienen que conocerse a sí mismos, tienen que reflexionar, a lo mejor al final del día, pregúntense preguntas sobre su día. Por ejemplo, si tuvieron una tarea de inglés y la lectura se les fue muy fácil, las preguntas igual, todo fácil, pero ya cuando fue el tiempo de hacer matemáticas, tuvieron un poquito de problemas para resolver estos problemas. Entonces, eso les va a ayudar a reflexionar en qué son fuertes y en qué son en qué áreas necesitan trabajar. También esto solamente, el abogar por sí mismo van a estar como trabajando en su independencia para después de la escuela preparatoria. No solamente esto es una habilidad que van a ocupar ahorita, pero también va a ser algo que van a ocupar por el resto de sus vidas cuando estén trabajando solos, sin ninguna ayuda de ningún otro adulto. Entonces tienen que ustedes confiar en sí mismos y confiar en que ustedes pueden resolver los problemas que vayan a encontrar en la escuela y también después ya que se gradúen. También otro punto que mencionó Mac es que en la escuela y también en el mundo real tenemos la tendencia de comprarnos a otras personas, pero tenemos que reconocer que todos aprendemos de diferentes maneras. Hay unos que pueden aprender por el oído, otros que pueden aprender viendo diferentes cosas. Entonces, esto nos hace únicos y son las diferentes cosas que traemos a los diferentes lugares que nos presentamos. Y hay que aprender qué es lo que nos ayuda a pensar y aprender mejor, porque es así como ustedes van a poder buscar los recursos que les van a ayudar en la escuela. Por ejemplo, si saben que por medio del oído ustedes aprenden mejor, pueden preguntarle a algún maestro si está bien que ustedes tomen, puedan grabar lo que diga el maestro para que después puedan ustedes escucharlo por el oído. O a lo mejor si ustedes aprenden más por visualizando las cosas, pueden preguntarle al maestro si pueden tener acceso a los dibujos o a las cosas que el maestro estuvo enseñando durante clase. Y también algo que mencionamos es que el pedir ayuda no es malo, sino es algo bueno, porque estamos abogando por nosotros mismos, y esto no hay nada de malo por abogar por sí mismo, sino que es mucho bueno y los resultados también son mucho mejores.
All right, so transitioning into this next component, and this kind of goes hand in hand with asking for help. So in a scholastic, in a school environment, you're most likely going to be dealing very closely with your teachers, your counselors, potentially principals, leaders of clubs, and making sure that you're maintaining professionality in the primary mode of communication within these settings, which is typically going to be email. That's the best way to get a hold of your professors, your teachers, and all the other kind of administrative staff sort of personnel at your schools. And so just kind of going through, what does an email actually look like, and kind of just the really buzz terms for email formatting, and making sure that you're keeping it professional as well. So what you see at the top here is the from section, the from, to, and subject. So for from, you're going to want to make sure that that'll be coming from you, that your email address is something that is professional. So, making sure that it's your name, maybe some variation of your name, but nothing like, kitty lover 123 or soccer player 567. You want to make sure that it is completely professional. And like I said, the best way to play it safe with that is just keeping it at some variation of your first and last name. Maybe your middle initial will show up. The recipient's email address, that is where the to section is. And so that's going to go, that'll be where whoever you're sending it to, that's where their information will come up. And, typically you'll be able to, at least for schools, be able to find that information on the high school's website. So you can track down the teacher's actually their information. Then this subject line is really the attention grabber. What is the quick summary of what's this email about? So when your recipient, when the person that you're sending this email to is going to open it up, they know exactly what they're about to read, or kind of have somewhat of an idea. So that's something that shouldn't ever be too long, should never be a full sentence. Literally probably the subject line of this presentation is sending a professional email. It's 4 words. That's something that you could put in the subject line of something, but it's just quick. It's not a full sentence, and always professional. Now the greeting phrase is kind of this next component, and that'll be dear so-and-so, hello so-and-so, hi so-and-so, maybe even good afternoon, something like that. But that's however you're going to be addressing that person, and obviously making sure that you're keeping it professional and how you're addressing your elders, Miss, their last name, Mr., their last name, unless they've given you special permission to say, just their first name. And also I would stray away from any hey so-and-so. That's usually how you text your friends. And these people in these professional environments they're not your friends. They're your authorities. So making sure that you're just always keeping it very professional and not getting too buddy. The opening line, is typically, you know, when you're going to be, it's kind of your intro. You know, if we think about how we're writing an essay or something, your intro paragraph, maybe that's, you know, you just saying, hey, I'm getting in touch because of blah, blah, and blah. And as you transition into your body paragraphs, you're explaining the situation. And then closing line, what is it that you're asking? So you're reaching out because of this, you're explaining your situation, and then how is it that you want this person to respond? Maybe it's, hey, could you get back to me with, not hey, but would you be able to get in touch with meeting times for us to coordinate, you know, an opportunity for us to go over this assignment? Or would you be able to send me XYZ? Whatever it is that you're wanting, that action on their part, that's typically going to go in your closing line, and then, you know, a thank you so much or something like that. Yeah, and that would also be in your signing off, can kind of be along the same line. Maybe you'd say thank you so much then. But again, you're wrapping it up, letting them know the action step, and then signing off. Thank you. See you soon. Talk to you tomorrow. Looking forward. Something along those lines. And then your signature is going to involve, yeah, the typically that would be a from, whatever your name is, and depending on, you know, probably the older that you get, you might have little titles that go under your name. So sometimes I'll put, like, I'm in college, so I might put class of 2024 if I'm addressing one of my professors or somebody on my college's campus, so that they know what time, you know, what year I am at the school. So I wouldn't, you might not necessarily have to worry right now about a title, but you just want to make sure that you put your name in the email. And one thing I do want to say is emails, keep them short. The people that you're contacting are busy and they're getting a lot of emails from other people. So you want to just kind of get right into the meat of why it is that you're contacting them and what it is that you want, and not writing them a giant book, because they're probably not going to read it if you write them, you know, 30, 40 sentences and be like, what is this person talking about? So you want to just get right into it and be very efficient and not waste the other person's time if you want a response.
Ahora estamos hablando de preguntar por ayuda y preguntar por recursos. Entonces queremos platicarles sobre cómo enviar un correo electrónico profesional cuando están en la escuela, y también ya después que se gradúen de la escuela. Típicamente ustedes van a estar en contacto con gente a través de correo electrónico. Entonces queremos recordarles que los correos electrónicos tienen que ser profesionales, y eso es desde el correo electrónico de ustedes. Para que ustedes manden un correo, esperemos que no tengan algo así como soccergirl@hotmail.com o algo así, algo que sea profesional, a lo mejor su nombre, su apellido, y eso va a ser un correo electrónico profesional. En la primera parte, como pueden ver ahí por el cursor, esa es la sección donde es de quién está mandando el correo, a quién va, y para que puedan buscar esta información. A lo mejor en el sitio de web de su escuela va a tener un directorio en línea para que ustedes puedan buscar el correo electrónico de sus maestros, si es que no tienen esa información del primer día de clases. Y también otra cosa muy importante que va al principio es el sujeto o el asunto del correo electrónico, y esto tiene que ser algo que llame la atención, algo corto, porque es así que van a abrir su correo electrónico de ustedes. Después, ya que están en el cuerpo del mensaje, pueden ver que la primera parte es la frase del saludo. Para esta frase se puede decir como querido, hola, buenas tardes, buenos días. Asegúrense de que pongan el Miss o Mr. Para las personas, no solamente pongan su nombre, especialmente si no les han dado permiso de referirse a personas por su primer nombre. Y recuerden que este es un correo electrónico profesional. Y ya después pueden pasar a la siguiente parte, que es la línea de apertura, en donde es como una introducción corta a lo que va a tratar su correo electrónico. Ya después ahí, en el párrafo del correo electrónico, van a dar más detalles de lo de qué se van a tratar su correo, pero también no se no escriban muchísimo porque los correos tienen que ser cortos, tienen que llegar al punto lo más pronto posible y para ser eficaz y que les den una respuesta por correo electrónico. Y en la línea de cierre es donde van a poder, como por decir, qué es lo que quieren que de esta persona que le están mandando el correo electrónico. A lo mejor necesitan como una hora para verse o necesitan que esta persona les responda al correo electrónico. Es ahí en donde van a poner esa información y ya después van a poner su cierre, típicamente como gracias, sinceramente, lo mejor, cosas así para cerrar su correo electrónico. Y en su firma, ahorita como son estudiantes, solamente asegúrense de que pongan su nombre y apellido y a lo mejor puede que en algún futuro, ya que están en la universidad, puedan poner su clase que son clase del 2024 o 2025, cualquier sea su clase de graduación que vayan a graduarse, pero por ahora no tienen que preocuparse de esa parte, solamente con que tengan su nombre y apellido va a ser más que suficiente.
And so here is just an example of an email that we just covered all of the parts. Here's an example of how you can use the email to advocate for yourself. So we can see subject, tutoring request. Short and simple. When the teacher opens that up, they know that you're requesting some tutoring. Then here is your opening line. So hello, Ms. Smith. I hope this email finds you well. Here is the advocacy piece, so what's in yellow. After reviewing my math test, I noticed that I missed a lot of problems with two-step equations. Then there's the ask. Would I be able to set up a time this week for us to review together? Additionally, I welcome any online resources you suggest for me to get extra practice. Closing line. Thank you so much in advance. I look forward to your response. Here is the closure, sincerely, and then your signature, Emily C. So it can be as simple as that. Ahora esto es un ejemplo de lo que acabamos de hablar, de cómo enviar un correo electrónico profesional y cómo abogar por sí mismos, que puede ser por medio de correo electrónico. Pueden ver el asunto, solicitud de tutoría, algo simple, algo directo, y cuando el maestro abre este correo electrónico, antes de abrirlo van a saber que tú estás pidiendo tutoría. Y luego aquí está tu abertura. Hola, señora Smith. Espero que este correo te encuentre bien, tu línea de abertura. Después de revisar mi examen de matemáticas, noté que fallé en muchos problemas con las ecuaciones de dos pasos. Esto es saber qué es lo que necesita más trabajo de sí mismo, tener esa reflexión personal. Y luego vas a pedir lo que quieres. Podríamos establecer un horario esta semana para que revisemos juntos. Además, agradezco cualquier recurso en línea que me sugiera para que practique más. Y luego, al final, es tu línea de cierre. Muchas gracias de antemano. Espero su respuesta, como saludo final, sinceramente, y tu firma, que sería tu nombre. Entonces, esto es un ejemplo de correo electrónico profesional, simple, corto y llegando al punto.
All right, so wrapping everything up, and really what are the major takeaways for today to set you up to survive high school? We're going to go through those now. So step one, first and foremost, is know yourself. You should be your best friend. You should be your biggest cheerleader. That should be all you. And so really going back to what Ms. Jackie and I mentioned earlier about reflection and taking those opportunities to figure out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your likes, what are your dislikes, what are your passions, what are just things you're just like, no way, Jose. And so really just taking that opportunity to familiarize yourself with yourself. Yes. And step two is using a planner or, a calendar, agenda, some sort of organizational system that works for you. Some of us are very paper and pen organized. That's okay. Write your stuff down. Others are very technologically very technologically, we just appreciate technology and we like to organize our stuff digitally, and that's okay too. Maybe type your stuff up, but figuring out, again, that goes back to that piece of knowing yourself, the way that your brain works, knowing, what resources are going to best enable you to thrive. And then this kind of translates to the rest of the things, but making sure that you're organized and keeping track of your to-do list is going to be very important. Making sure that you're working on your study habits and your skills. So this incorporates things like time management. How do you deal with working in groups? What are, really just figuring out, hey, maybe procrastination is something that you struggle with, and then using high school as an opportunity. You have 4 years there to really prime yourself and to get better and to say, hey, I'm going to push myself to maybe not wait until the last minute to do XYZ assignment like I'm inclined to do, but I'm going to really be working on building this study skill of just being very timely and getting an advanced jump on things. Or maybe interpersonal skills is something that you more so struggle with. And in high school, college, and the workforce and beyond, being in groups is going to be something that you're going to have to do forever. You're going to always have to be working with and collaborating with people, and also utilizing high school as an opportunity to just get better at that, and just to develop those skills. And so maybe you're uncomfortable working in groups, but pushing yourself to maybe take the lead and say, hey, I'm going to make the group chat today. Even though that's something I'm uncomfortable with, I know I want to build this skill set. And again, just keep in mind, you have 4 years in high school to really, you want to leave a better and improved version of yourself, but you have time. As long as you're using each and every day as an opportunity to improve upon yourself, that is the right mentality. Making sure that you are familiarizing yourself with the resources and support systems that are at your fingertips at school. So you're going to have counselors and teachers and administrative people, staff members, etc., right there at school, ready for you to just come and ask them, hey, maybe there's an internship opportunity that you want to pursue, or maybe there's a club that you're interested in starting or getting plugged into, or maybe you just need help with an assignment. Just making sure that you are talking and reaching out and asking for that help and taking advantage of the resources that are there and ready for you to use. So yeah, also, that kind of translates into this advocacy piece, self-advocacy, advocating for yourself. I'm going to tell you, the worst thing that you can probably do with one of your teachers is have your mom or your dad send an email on your behalf. Mr. So-and-so, my child is really struggling in your class. Can you help them? That's going to be a major turnoff for the teacher. No teacher is going to want an email from your parent who's not even a student in their class. So utilizing those opportunities to go take a stand, and problem solve for yourself, and you be the one that takes initiative and takes charge and says, hey, mom and dad, I got this. Because again, this is your opportunity to build that independence and to start making sure that you're taking the steps to really operate on your own, because eventually you're going to be in a position where your parents aren't going to be involved. You aren't going to live at home with your parents, and you want to make sure that that momentum starts right now in high school. And then this next piece is just getting involved in extracurricular activities. We talked about at the beginning of this presentation that difference between middle school and high school, and how high school is going to have just so many things and opportunities and just fun things for you to do to get plugged in and pursue your passions. And so, we can't be all school, right? We're going to burn out with that. School is just doing all school and nothing else. Promise you, it's not sustainable and it's not fun. And so having those outlets to just take a break from your work and to go and do the things that you love, whether, like I said at the beginning, whether that's an athletic type of activity, whether that's a theater type of activity, whether that's, maybe National Honor Society, etc., whatever it is that floats your boat, get plugged in with it, and don't be that person that just says, I'm going to do school and eat, sleep, and breathe my academics. It is not sustainable. And this just kind of leads us into this last piece of high school is supposed to be fun. Obviously our grades matter and we're going to want to put our best foot forward in school, but there's going to be so many opportunities too for you to meet friends and, network with teachers and have them hook you up potentially with summer summer enrichment programs, and just really embracing everything that your high school offers. take the classes that you love. You want to learn about the things that you care about. So seeking those opportunities out, learning should be fun. So making sure that, hey, if there's a class that you want to take it. If there's a person that you want to be friends with, just do the ask, say, hey, let's hang out or whatever it is. And getting plugged in with clubs and stuff that also you're interested in so that you can just be well-rounded, but also be healthy, right? We want to make sure that we're healthy. And yeah, with that, that's how you survive high school.
Ahora sabemos que hemos hablado mucho y ya hemos llegado al final de nuestra presentación, entonces solamente queríamos recordarle sobre algunos puntos que hablamos durante la presentación de cómo van a sobrevivir la preparatoria. Primero que nada, tienen que conocerse a sí mismos, es lo que dijimos, sean como su mejor amigo, el que está apoyándose a sí mismo y reflexionen, porque el reflexionar les va a ayudar a saber qué son sus clases en las que ustedes son muy fuertes y en qué necesitan un poquito más apoyo. Al igual que van a poder averiguar qué cosas les gustan, cuál es su pasión, qué es lo que quieren explorar un poco más. También el segundo punto es que usen una agenda o un calendario o cualquier sistema de organización que les ayude a ustedes. A lo mejor les gusta el papel y un cuaderno. O a lo mejor en la computadora les gusta más la tecnología. Hay muchas aplicaciones ahora en día y también pueden anotar notas en su computadora. Entonces, si es esto lo que les gusta, conózcanse a sí mismo para saber cuál es el sistema que más mejor va a funcionar para que puedan sobrevivir estos 4 años que van a tener en la prepa. El otro punto es que deben de trabajar en sus hábitos y sus habilidades de estudio y esto viene, con esto es importante que sepan cómo manejar su tiempo, a lo mejor cómo trabajar en grupos, si esperan al último momento para hacer cosas y ustedes ya saben esto, tienen tiempo para reconocer esto, para trabajar en este aspecto, para que no se lleven este hábito a la universidad. También hay que recordarse y hay que aprender a hablar con nuestros consejeros, hay que hablar con nuestros maestros, porque es así que nosotros estamos ayudando y abogando por nosotros mismos. Al hablar con esta gente, ustedes están hablando ustedes están preguntando por recursos y va de la mano con la otra parte que habíamos hablado de abogar por sí mismo. Algo que no les sugerimos es que si están teniendo problemas en la clase, que le digan a sus padres o con la persona que viven que le manden un correo electrónico al maestro. Los maestros quieren escuchar de ustedes, los maestros quieren ayudarlos a ustedes, entonces es mejor que ustedes aboguen por sí mismos primero para que si tienen algún problema, escuchen de ustedes y no de otro adulto que quiera tratarles de arreglar los problemas que tienen en clase. Y es así que ustedes pueden trabajar en su independencia y pueden resolver problemas por sí mismos y ser líderes de su propia vida. Y por último, estos dos puntos van casi juntos, es involucrarse en diferentes actividades extracurriculares y esto es que también a través de esto ustedes pueden divertirse con estas actividades porque queremos que se diviertan en la escuela, sabemos que no siempre va a ser tarea, estudio, tienen que hacer otras cosas para mantenerse sanos, para mantenerse, que tengan que sean diferentes aspectos que los hace a ustedes mismos. Entonces queremos que hablen con sus maestros, que vayan a obras de teatro, que vayan a los deportes, que vayan a todas esas cosas que la escuela les va a ofrecer y no solamente a través de la escuela, pero también a través de la comunidad, para que ustedes puedan aprender de las cosas que ustedes les gustan y de las que les importan. Entonces, eso es todo por ahora.
that was the end of the presentation. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat. Eso fue el final de la presentación. Pueden poner sus preguntas en el chat y las podemos responder. This is just a friendly reminder that we are active on social media, and we have Instagram, Twitter, where you can follow us at Gameplan College. You can see videos on different topics, college access related, at our YouTube channel. We have recorded this session, and that will be on our YouTube channel for you to refer to afterwards as well. We're on Facebook. You can always email us, and we also send a bi-weekly newsletter. So I just put the link in the chat. If you want to sign up for our newsletter, this will be for students to fill in our sign-in sheet to get that newsletter. And teachers and parents, if you want to get our newsletter, Ms. Jackie, you can put that in the chat. Esto solo para recordarles que estamos en las redes sociales, tenemos Instagram y Twitter. También tenemos un canal de YouTube donde pueden encontrar otros videos sobre recursos de las partes de la solicitud de colegio. También grabamos esta sesión y la puedes encontrar en YouTube después. Tenemos una página de Facebook. Aquí está nuestro correo electrónico donde nos puede enviar un correo. Y finalmente, si quieren, enviamos un folleto de información cada 2 semanas. Y si quieren, esto es para los estudiantes, si quieren recibir ese folleto, llenan nuestro formulario de sign-in para que nos da información sobre los estudiantes, y ahí está el link en el chat. También está el link en el chat por Ms. Jackie si quieren hacer una cita individualizada. Ms. Jackie also dropped in the chat the link to make a one-on-one appointment. Are there any questions?